video, I want to talk about this question. Do you speak English? For many students, this is a question that you are very familiar with. And sometimes it could feel okay, and oftentimes it can feel a bit uncomfortable. Why is that? Well, asking the question, do you speak English, is not a bad question. What makes it bad is how you say it and why you are asking. For example, do you speak English? Do you speak English? This is very rude and disrespectful. Notice when I ask the question, I'm speaking loudly and I'm overly pronouncing the word English. Now, for some people, they may feel like that's not a bad thing, but in fact it is. For someone who is new to learning English, this can make them feel very uncomfortable because they feel like you are making fun of them. And in a lot of ways, you are. Let me show you another example. Do you speak English? Notice the difference between the first example and the second. In the first example, I was a bit rude and harsh, but in the second example, my voice was softer and my face looked more pleasant. For students, they don't mind answering this question, but depending on how you ask this question will determine whether or not a student will respond to you, if they want to respond to you, or they will not respond to you at all. So be careful with that. Another thing that makes students feel uncomfortable is their accent. The accent is the sound, is how you speak. And your accent usually is determined by where you come from. Not always, but most times that is the case. A lot of students do not feel comfortable speaking in English because of their accent. Depending on how light or how strong their accents are, this will determine whether or not they feel comfortable answering your question, do you speak English, or not. For example, in my classes, when I ask students, where are you from? And a student tells me the country they are from. Based on their accent and how they answer this question, I can tell if they feel comfortable speaking to me in English or if they feel a bit nervous. Another reason why students may not feel comfortable is because of this reason. Hi, can you tell me how to get to Smith Street? Huh? I don't understand. Can you please speak clearly? I don't understand you. Now, that's not a nice way of responding to someone, but this happens often. For a lot of English speakers, as well as people who are non-English speakers, communication can oftentimes become mixed or twisted around. And I'm not saying that this is the student's fault or the English speaker's fault, but there has to be some patience. Here in New York City, people are always on the go. So patience is not always our strong point. For a student who is learning English, this can be very intimidating because one, they don't speak English. Two, they're afraid that their accent will not help people to understand them. And three, sometimes people are just not nice. So what can you do? For the English speaker, we need to be a little more patient. If you are speaking to someone and you hear an accent or their pronunciation is a little off, but you still understand them, don't say, huh? What? I don't understand. Don't do that. Just answer their question or speak to them. If you want to correct them, do so in a polite way, but don't make the person feel stupid or uncomfortable. For the student, I will say to you, take your time when you're speaking in English. If you need to speak slowly, do that. Speak clearly. This will help the person you're talking to understand you better. Your accent is part of you. I know a lot of students prefer not to have an accent, or they may even want an American accent. But this takes a lot of time and practice with your English. But for right now, just be yourself, speak clearly and slowly if you're not sure. Also, if you really feel uncomfortable, you can always say, I'm sorry, I cannot speak English, or you can just say like this. And this body gesture lets people know the answer no, or just simply doing this and walking away. but you do not have to respond to someone who is being rude to you. And for the person being rude, you should not be rude to someone who cannot speak your language. It's impolite and it's unnecessary. So this question, do you speak English, is a good question to ask, but it's how you ask it. And also, if someone has an accent or they don't feel comfortable speaking in English because of that reason, don't make them feel bad for it. Having an accent is something that's part of us. We can't help it, but we can help being polite. Thank you so much for watching today's lesson. Always try your best, and remember that learning English is a process. It takes time, but together we can make that process more fun and more interesting. It does not have to be boring, it does not have to be scary, and it does not have to be uncomfortable. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you in the next lesson.